Hello, and welcome to Living a Graceful Life. I'm your host, Denise Medved, and I'm also the creator and founder of the Ageless Grace Brain Health Program, which is in 50 U.S. states and 32 other countries, helping people to have a sharper brain, a better memory, to restore cognitive function, to help delay it and slow it down, those types of things. So if you're interested in Ageless Grace, we hope that you'll check out our website. This episode of Ageless Grace and Living a Graceful Life is focusing on something really fun and really interesting and really valuable. It's a 3-part series. This is the first part. The next one will be on October 17th. The third one will be on November 21st, all on Mondays, all at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. It's with Lana Gelb, my friend and colleague, and we're going to be talking in the first episode about Let's Talk the Talk. The second one will be Let's Walk the Walk, and the third one will be Let's Take Action. So what this is about is self-care or shelf care. I know that many of you are overwhelmed, as I am, and as Lana is, with so much information out there about every topic, about every diagnosis, about every health or wellness issue there could possibly be. And sometimes there's conflicting information, or there's hundreds of places that you can go. And of course, many different experts, and I put that in quote, are giving you different advice and different information, even conflicting information. So one of the things we're going to talk about is what is self-care versus what is shelf care. Maybe you buy products and just leave them there and end up not using them, or maybe you're so paralyzed by all the information that you don't even get around to choosing a product to help you with what's going on in your life and your own health. So we are going to talk about that this evening. So welcome, Lana. I'm so happy to have you.
Thank you, Denise, and I'm so happy to be here today, and I'm really looking forward to the series, and I love the topic because it is very confusing. So yeah, I'm with you there, and I have to fess up and say I'm guilty of that. I have several courses that I've paid for and signed up for, and I don't even know what the name of them is to look it up in my emails and in my, I don't know where I've saved it. So, and I have the same with books. I get carried away. I buy books on generally something to do with the brain, and I've got them sitting in a pile next to my bed. And some of them I open up randomly, and others I just don't even get to. So yeah, I'm guilty of that, and it is very overwhelming and confusing.
I am too. I have the same thing, workshops and podcasts that I've never listened to, and books that I've only read a few pages out of, and supplements and sources that sounded so good that I've gotten, and I have little bottles and jars, and I haven't taken them all. So it's definitely a dilemma. We are on information overload when it comes to our health. And one of the things that Lana said to me when we were discussing this topic, and we realized it's such a big topic that it needs to be a 3-part series. We can't cover it in one 30-minute episode with 30 minutes of question and answer afterward, was that we really need to divide it into categories about talking about it and discussing it, learning it, researching it, about walking the walk, like deciding what we're going to do and then sticking to it and doing it, and taking an action plan, really creating a plan for yourself, taking action and doing something about it. So those will be the 3 parts of what we're going to discuss, as I said earlier. So Lana, let's talk about talking the talk. How do we do that in this complicated world that we live in?
So that is a complex question, and it is an expression, talking the talk and walking the walk, because a lot of what we're talking about now is talk. And what I would like to ask you, Denise, and perhaps everybody can write this down as we're talking, is what is self-care? What exactly is self-care? And what is self-care for you? Because no one size fits all. All of us have different needs. All of us have different budgets. All of us have different orientations about what self-care is. So, and what is it not? That's another question. So what would it be for you in terms of what it is for you, and how do you self-care? And Denise, how about sharing? You were talking about this movie, and I'd love for you to share it with the audience.
Yes, there's a Hallmark movie called The 27-Hour Day, and I was just watching it the other day, and of course you can guess from the title that it's about a woman who's more or less a workaholic, and ironically she is a health and wellness coach. So she's telling people how to live a healthier, happier, more balanced life, and yet she's working all day long, and she doesn't take weekends off, and she's podcasting, and she's doing social media posts. And so her boss calls her in and says to her, I really think you need some time off. You need some self-care. And the woman says, oh, I do self-care. She said, just yesterday I went and had a tooth cleaning.
Exactly. So, yeah, I guess everything is one's perspective. And for her, that was self-care, because she wasn't really taking care of herself. She was talking the talk and not walking the walk. And I find that to be so interesting and so prevalent, especially with coaches, especially with people who are teaching and sharing with other people, how to introduce new things into their life that will be helpful for them. And, you have to question who is the expert, who is the specialist. Who do you believe? I know in my family, nobody believes me because we don't believe family. Generally speaking, that is true. I know that to be true, but because we're not the expert, someone else is. So many times it's happened to me where one of my family members said, oh, I wish I'd known this sooner. I would have done it. And then I say, but I told you about it 5 years ago, so that's that. But tell us what you do for your self-care.
Well, I am a very systematic person, meaning once I find something that I feel like is nourishing me, or specifically, and I've got two kinds of self-care. I've got the self-care that's ongoing, and then I have the self-care for something specific that may be happening, and it's something recent, it just started happening, or it's something that I had a little trauma or an injury, so that's a different kind of self-care. I want to be sure and heal it fully and completely. So first, the ongoing self-care for me, Lana, is that I need to take time off to just be. I am expert at saying yes. I say, oh yes, I can make that talk. Oh yes, I can do that thing. Oh yes, I can go to this particular, meeting or whatever. And so I have made a rule for myself, it's fairly recent actually, that I will say, let me look at my schedule, let me think about that, and I'll get back to you, so that I don't say yes to everything all the time, because my gut instinct is, oh yeah, I can help that person. Oh yeah, I can help those people. Oh yeah, I have something to say. And so then the person, like you just pointed out, who ends up suffering is me, because I'm not taking time out to just be still or to take a walk or to be in nature. And that is one of my number one ways of self-care. Nature feeds my soul. It relaxes my mind. And of course, if I'm walking in nature or hiking in nature, it's also helping my body. So that's my number one go-to way of self-care, is making sure I get out in nature and enjoy its beauty and be still and don't plan anything else at the same time. No cell phone talking while I'm walking. No, taking photographs while I'm walking. That's a busyness. It's just me being in nature. And then of course, when something happens, whatever that might be, maybe I lift something too heavy, or I overdo something and I have an injury, I right away make sure that I'm doing things that would relax that part of my body. And a lot of what I do is essential oils, or warm baths with oil in them, or with something like Epsom salts in them, sitting in the spa. I do things that I know are going to help that specific area of my body until it feels really healed. Not just 3 times, but is it really healed? So that's my long answer.
That's a great answer. I love when you said that you take walks in nature and you don't take your phone and you don't take pictures. That's so mindful, and that's so, I think, connected to the nature, because we miss out when we have the phone. It's like you say, the busyness. We all, I think, are in an environment of overwhelm, overclutter. And I think it's so important to make that kind of decision, to just switch off all of these EMFs and all of the things that are bothering our systems, that are, actually toxic to our systems, and give ourselves a break and give ourselves the self-care we deserve and we need. And talking about essential oils, I usually put this one on before I do any presentation, and I forgot tonight. So I'm going to put it on. It is citronella. And citronella, I learned just fairly recently, is a wonderful oil to activate the calcium signals in our brain. So, and it smells great. I love it. So that's one of the ones that I use. That's one of the main ways I do self-care. And like you, I injured my knee a couple weeks ago, and I've had all kinds of ways of dealing with it. One of them being the essential oils, another being my vibration machine, another one being just spray. I have a beautiful spray that's really like an arnica and boswellia spray. And that's a natural spray that I use for pain, for inflammation. And just elevation and ice. And that's really, what was working for me. And it's, it's a couple of weeks now, exactly 2 weeks, or just 2.5 weeks now. And it's about 90% healed. And it was a bad sprain. So, and also I have developed, and I talk about this in my courses, a spa ritual. And it's an SPI ritual, and SPI is the initials are for so many different companies and things. But for me, I love the smart plugin, because for me, it's a smart plugin. What I do, a spa ritual, because it's really spiritual. And Sisters Perpetual Indulgence. Mm-hmm. I love that. So strategic planning initiative is another one. But what that is it's not a routine or a regimen for me, because that's different. I consider a ritual something more spiritual, something that I really enjoy doing, that's very much self-care for me, it hasn't been imposed on me by anybody saying you should do that and this is what you have to do and so on. That's a regimen. That's a routine. You go to the gym because you have to go to the gym, or you do a certain amount of whatever movement or food or stress management you do because you've been told that that's what you need to do. But I meditate every day and I love it. I do the satanama every day, which I did on your show the last time. And I have a cold shower every morning, which really relaxes me. I know people say, you crazy, why do you take a cold shower? It's very, very stress reducing, and it helps the vagus nerve to help the stress process that we're in. So a cold shower, it's not freezing cold. It's certainly not in Florida. You don't get that really cold shower, but it's cold enough to say, ooh, at the beginning, and I have certain rituals every morning that I do. I go outside my front door, and I have a walkway that's on the parking lot, but on the lake as well. So I get mesmerized and hypnotized by the water, which is really healing for me, and I love it. I look forward to it. It's different every day, because you see sometimes ripples, sometimes waves, sometimes the wind is blowing there and it's kind of heavy. But I do both movement and breath work every day, and whatever occurs to me at the moment, that's what I do. So my whole ritual is probably, I don't know, 45 minutes, because then I see Tracy, we meet and we do our gratitude. We do 3 gratitudes every day. We share that. So those are
that's a beautiful thing too, that people can call on. You're giving some wonderful ideas, but one of the things that people can call on is a buddy system. Everything works better with a buddy system. Whether it's going on a nutritional diet food plan, whether it's going to an exercise venue like a gym or a club, whether it's whatever it may be. It works better if you're accountable to someone, I think, and that person's expecting you to meet them or to be there or to check in on the phone at the end of the day. So that's another thing, I think, that what you just mentioned, that you and Tracy, your daughter, get together every morning and you do 3 gratitudes. It's a beautiful ritual, and it's also a smart way to self-care, which is to have someone help you with that or to join you in that.
Well, it keeps us accountable too. And not only that, being that we live together, we're both very busy. And so it gives us that moment in the morning, almost first thing, we both kind of awake. I'm definitely awake from the shower at that point, to have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee together and do the gratitude. So there's so many good reasons to do those kind of things.
Absolutely. So that's another piece. I love that you said to everyone, write down what you do self-care. I hope you're still writing, meaning, maybe you had a few more ideas after Lana asked me what I do, and after Lana shared with us what she does. I hope you had ideas of not only what you do for self-care, but maybe you changed your idea about what was self-care. Because I'm sorry, having a tooth cleaning once every 6 months is not self-care. It's good medical practice for lifelong health, but it's not self-care.
Yes, exactly. It is interesting to find out what people consider self-care, what the parameters are for that. So I'll be interested in the second half to hear what people in fact, I was interested in what you said when we were planning this, and you said something was just not self-care to you. You just and I forget what it was, but it was something you said that you don't get self-care from that, and you don't do it.
Right, and that's true too. That everybody's different about what's self care. For example, I love to get a massage, and I have a particular person that I like to give me the massage because I've tried several people, and that's the one who makes me feel like I'm doing self care. But I have been to a couple massage therapists whose technique for me is not self-care. It's like I'm thinking, when is this going to be over? This is not what I want to be doing. You know, I'm sort of counting the clock, so to speak. And so I think that's really important too, for you to know what self-care works for you. Even if everybody says a massage is self-care, it's not if you're not feeling like it's self-care.
I think a lot of what I feel is self-care is something that really resonates with you. It won't necessarily be for me. The same massage therapist for somebody else would be self-care, I suppose. And everything is so variable because we're so individual. One of the things I'd like to mention here is that the talk, let's talk the talk, is all about our mouth. And we don't give enough attention to the mouth. And you were talking about the dentist in that movie. And really, I think that's about what people think of as self-care, is the dentist. But our mouth is vital and core to being who we are. It's starting with a kiss. We're not going to go where that goes. And it's also the talk, but it's also about eating. And our mouth does all these incredible functions. And the latest research, and I know you know this too, Denise, has been that infections in the mouth have now been linked to both Alzheimer's and the gut.
Yes.
And it's very much linked, the gut and the Alzheimer's, the gut-brain axis. So one of the things that I've mentioned, and I don't remember if I mentioned it in your last show, but that I'd like to share with people, is the vagus nerve, and how important that is for your throat chakra and for this area, because it comes right from your brain, this 10th cranial nerve. Both of the nerves come down and into your throat, into your mouth. So some tips there would be to gargle, to hum, to sing. Mm-hmm. Do all of those in the shower. If you don't have a great voice and you've got somebody there that you don't want them to listen, do it in the shower, but sing, chant, use your voice. Our voice is our form of communication, and we need to speak our voice. We both, not without, we didn't discuss it, but we both wearing blue today, and that's the color of the blue chakra. This whole throat chakra, our neck, our jaw, our teeth, our tongue. And at the back of our tongue, we've got something called the uvula, and that's the little tongue at the back of your throat. And the uvula is a test that you can do. You don't have to go to the doctor. I did it the other day with my dental hygienist. And you put your head back. If you have a partner, or if you have a son or a friend or anybody who can help you, you look back. You can have a flashlight, and the uvula needs to be straight. The tongue needs to be straight down in order to be functioning, your vagus nerve to be functioning well. If it's sloped to the side, it is dysfunctional. And there's certain things you can do, like the gargling, like the singing, like the chanting, like the humming, all these things, and many more that you can do for the vagus nerve through your mouth and through your throat. And somebody can see if there's dysfunction. I was giving a webinar the other night, and I had somebody write to me and said, I tested my mother and father and myself, and we're all dysfunctional with our vagus nerve, and I knew it, but I did not know that this would tell me so. And it was a matter of varying degrees, the father having the most severe. And she said, it's so interesting because my dad can't lift his tongue up. He has a problem doing that. So it's just interesting, the kind of things where we can take care of ourselves and we don't have to have this pressure from all these salespeople and all these experts.
I think you're when you mentioned this topic to me, I said right away, what a wonderful topic, because the reality is, in America especially, we tend to look for health and healing from outside. What can this person do for me? What can this doctor do for me? What can this expert do for me? What can this life coach do for me? And like you just said, I think you hit on something really critically important, that there is so much we can do for ourselves. And that's why it's called self-care. It's not called other care, where someone else does it for you, but self-care that you can do for yourself. I think you've given a lot of great ideas to people, from and especially even just writing it down. Write down what you think is self-care. Write down what you may have heard tonight in this conversation that may inspire you, and you think, oh, I'd like to do that. Like, that would be good self-care. That intrigues me, or that's attractive to me. Because definitely when you hear something that sort of strikes your fancy, there's a resonance that's going in you that is saying, pay attention, notice this. This could be something that could help you. And I always say it's important to pay attention to what attracts you or intrigues you or inspires you. And yes, you're going to get more chances. You're going to get to speak with us for after this episode is over. For those of you who are here live, you can talk to us afterwards and ask questions. But there's also part 2, as I said, on October 17th, which will be Let's Walk the Walk. And there's part 3, November 21st, which will be Let's Take Action. Although this episode, you've already gotten some great ideas from Lana. Lana, would you like to tell people about your website, or maybe other websites or podcasts or places people could go and get some good information?
I definitely would like to tell them about mine, which is, and Denise, would you mind putting it in the chat? It's
Sure.
www.goodvibesconsultants.com. Good vibes with an S, plural, and consultants with an S, plural. And I have a new course coming up on October 3rd called Your Brain on Yoga. And actually, you just really do not need to be a yogi or a yogini to take that course, because honestly, it's principles. It's principles of healthy living, and it's a transformation program where I focus on not so much the information, although there's a ton of information, but on transformation. Because in my view, if we don't take the action and we just hear all this good stuff and gee, that was a great webinar, that was a fantastic summit, that, oh, that's so interesting on Google. But what do we do with that information? Where does it sit? Where does it hide? So it's all about walking the walk and taking action, which, as Denise said, we're going to do in the next 2. But I'd love you to go on my website and browse around.
Yes, please do that. And please also join us as we get together next time on October 17th. There will be episodes between now and then every Monday at 7 p.m. You can join me on Living a Graceful Life, but we will continue this conversation about self-care or shelf-care. And that might even be an interesting little exercise for everyone to do, is to go look on your shelves Are they full of books that you haven't really followed or paid attention to? Or maybe there's a book on there that you did follow and you haven't done it in months or years, and you might want to pull it out again. On your shelf, are there supplements that you either used to take or you never got around to taking? What's on there? Is it something that you want to go back to doing? Something that you want to put into the trash bin, perhaps? What is on your shelf as far as exercise equipment? That's, the number one thing sold at yard sales and tag sales is practically new exercise equipment that nobody's used. They bought it, but they never really did it. So look at your shelves and say to yourself, am I doing self-care or shelf care? And those of you who are interested in Ageless Grace, I said I would let you know a little bit more about it. Ageless Grace is a brain health program, and that's part of our brain, of course, is command central. It's in charge of all the things that the rest of our body does. And so it's very important to have good brain health as well as physical health, emotional health, or perhaps spiritual health or spiritual health. So I hope you'll visit agelessgrace.com as well. Thank you all for being here, and we will remind you that the purpose of this show is to let you remember that it's never too late to begin making choices to create the life that you want to live.